I followed my husband the night I realized I had never truly known him. It started with something small, something most people would ignore: a glance at his phone, a pause that lasted a second too long, a softness in his voice that did not belong to me. 10 seconds that changed everything. He stepped out onto the balcony whispering, "I will be there soon, I promise," and when he turned back inside he smiled at me like nothing had happened, like we were still the same couple we had been for the past 8 years. But something inside me cracked quietly, completely. That night I decided to follow him. I did not plan it, I did not think it through, I only knew that if I did not uncover the truth right, then it would eat me alive. His name was Daniel, and for 8 years I believed he was the most honest man I had ever met. He was calm, steady, predictable, the kind of husband who remembered anniversaries, who brought me tea when I worked late, who held my hand in silence when words felt unnecessary. We met at a mutual friends gathering, and everything about him felt safe. He was not the type to play games, he was not loud or charming in a flashy way, he was warm in a quiet way, and I fell for that. We built a life together, slowly, carefully, like people who believed in forever. Or at least I did. Looking back, I realize the signs were always there, but they were subtle, like faint cracks in glass that only reveal themselves when the light hits at the right angle. He would disappear sometimes, not often, but enough for me to notice. He always had an explanation: work, emergencies, helping a friend, needing time to think. I trusted him, so I never questioned it. Until that night. He told me he had to work late again, something about a last-minute meeting. His tone was too casual, too rehearsed, like a line he had practiced. I nodded like I always did, but this time I watched him closely, the way he avoided my eyes, the way his hands moved slightly faster than usual as he grabbed his keys. Something was wrong. After he left, I waited exactly 10 minutes, then I grabbed my coat and followed him. My heart was pounding so loudly I thought it might give me away, even though I was alone. I kept my distance as his car moved through the city. The streets were dimly lit, the world felt strangely quiet, like it was holding its breath. He did not go toward his office. Instead, he drove in the opposite direction, toward a part of town we rarely visited, a quieter, older neighborhood filled with small houses and narrow streets. My stomach twisted. I told myself maybe he had a client there, maybe there was a logical explanation, but deep down I knew I was lying to myself. He parked in front of a modest house with a small garden. The porch light was on, casting a warm glow over the entrance. And then the door opened before he even knocked. A woman stepped out. She was not what I expected. She was not glamorous or intimidating. She looked ordinary in the most disarming way, like someone who lived a simple life. But the way she looked at him was not ordinary at all. It was familiar. Intimate. Like she had been waiting for him. And then a little girl ran out behind her. She could not have been older than 6. She threw herself into his arms, laughing, calling him Daddy. I felt the world collapse around me. I could not breathe. My hands tightened around the steering wheel as I watched him kneel down to hug her, his face softening in a way I had never seen before. This was not the man I knew. Or maybe it was, and I had never truly seen him. I sat there frozen as he walked inside with them, the door closing behind him like a final answer to a question I had been too afraid to ask. My husband had another family. I do not remember how long I stayed there, maybe minutes, maybe hours. Time lost its meaning. All I knew was that everything I believed about my life had just been shattered. When I finally drove home, the silence in the car was unbearable. I kept replaying the scene in my mind, the little girl's laughter, the way she held on to him, the ease with which he stepped into that house like he belonged there. Because he did belong there. I was the one who did not belong in his truth. When he came home later that night, I pretended to be asleep. I listened to him move quietly through the apartment as if he were trying not to wake me, as if he were still the same careful, considerate husband. I wanted to scream at him, to demand answers, to break everything open. But I stayed still. Because a part of me needed to understand before I destroyed everything. The next morning I watched him like I had never watched him before. Every word, every gesture, every pause felt different now, like I was seeing a stranger wearing my husband's face. He kissed my forehead before leaving for work, and I almost flinched. How could he touch me like that after holding someone else's child? After living another life? I spent the entire day in a haze, my mind racing through possibilities, none of them making sense. Was she his ex? Had he cheated on me? Had he been lying from the very beginning? I needed answers. So I went back. This time I did not wait for him. I drove to that house in the middle of the afternoon, my hands trembling as I walked up to the door. For a moment I hesitated. Once I knocked, there would be no going back. But I had already crossed that line the moment I followed him. So I knocked. The door opened slowly, and the same woman stood there, her expression shifting from confusion to cautious curiosity. "Yes," she said softly. I swallowed my fear, my anger, my heartbreak. "I need to talk to you about Daniel." Her face changed instantly, not into guilt or panic, but into something deeper, something heavier. She stepped aside and let me in without a word. The house was simple but filled with life, toys scattered across the floor, drawings taped to the walls, the kind of space that felt lived and loved. It hurt to stand there. She led me to the living room and gestured for me to sit, but I could not. I felt like if I stopped moving I might break completely. "Who are you?" she asked finally. I forced the words out. "I am his wife." Silence fell between us, thick and suffocating. She closed her eyes briefly, as if absorbing the impact of my words. Then she nodded slowly. I was wondering when this would happen. Her calmness caught me off guard. "You knew about me?" She shook her head. "Not exactly. I knew there was someone, I just did not know who." I felt anger rise inside me. How could she speak so casually about this, about him? "How long?" I demanded. "How long have you been with him?" She looked at me carefully, choosing her words. "I have known Daniel for 10 years. 10 years. That was 2 years before I even met him." My stomach dropped. "We were together back then," she continued, her voice steady. "We were engaged." The room spun. "What happened?" She hesitated, then said quietly, "He left. No explanation, no closure. He just disappeared one day. And then I found out I was pregnant." The words hit me like a physical blow. "He never knew." I stared at her. "What do you mean?" I tried to tell him, but I could not find him. He had changed his number, moved away. It was like he vanished. So I raised her alone. Until a year ago. My heart pounded. "A year ago." She nodded. "He showed up at my door out of nowhere. He said he had been looking for me, that he did not know about the child, that he wanted to make things right." I felt my hands shake. "So you just let him back into your life?" Her eyes softened. "He is her father. She deserved to know him. And I believed he deserved a chance to be a father." I laughed bitterly. "A chance? At what cost?" She looked at me with something like sympathy. "I did not know about you. If I had, I would have never." Her voice broke for the first time. "I am not that person." I believed her, and that made it worse. Because this was not a simple betrayal, this was not a secret affair driven by passion or recklessness. This was something deeper, more complicated, more devastating. He had not just lied to me. He had split his life in two. And somehow he had managed to make both sides feel real. Why did he not tell me? I whispered, more to myself than to her. She did not answer because there was no answer that could make sense of this. I left the house feeling more lost than before. When I got home, I knew I could not wait any longer. That night when Daniel walked through the door, I did not pretend. I was standing there waiting. "We need to talk." He froze immediately. He knew. I saw it in his eyes the moment he looked at me. "You followed me." It was not a question. I nodded. "Say it," I said, my voice shaking but firm. "Tell me the truth." He ran a hand through his hair, pacing like a man trapped in his own lies. "I was going to tell you." "When?" "I do not know." I was trying to figure out how. I felt something inside me snap. "You had a year. A whole year." He stopped pacing and looked at me, his eyes filled with something I could not quite read. "I did not know about her until last year. I thought I had left that part of my life behind. I thought it was over. But it was not. And instead of telling me, you decided to live a double life." His silence was an answer. "Do you love her?" I asked, the question that had been burning inside me. He hesitated, and that hesitation told me everything. "It is not that simple," he said. "It never is," I replied bitterly. "What about me, Daniel? What about us?" He stepped closer, reaching for me, but I stepped back. "Do not touch me." His face crumpled. "I never wanted to hurt you." "But you did. Every single day you chose to lie." The room felt too small, too heavy, with everything unsaid. "I love you," he said finally, his voice breaking. "And I love her too." Those words destroyed whatever hope I had left. Because love was supposed to mean something. It was supposed to be whole, not divided, not shared like a secret between two lives. I stood there looking at the man I had built my world around and realized I did not know who he was anymore. Maybe I never did. "What happens now?" I asked quietly. He did not have an answer. And for the first time in our entire relationship, neither did I. Because some truths do not lead to clarity. Some truths only leave you standing in the ruins of everything you thought was real, wondering how you ever believed in it at all. And in that moment I understood something I had been avoiding since the night I followed him. This was not just about his secret family. This was about me. About the life I had accepted without question, the trust one had given so freely, the signs I had ignored because I wanted to believe in the version of us that felt safe. Now there was nothing safe left. Only truth. Raw, painful, undeniable truth. And the question that remained was not whether I could forgive him, but whether I could ever trust myself again.